Good morning, everyone. I am making this video for a man named Anthony. Um, the day Charlie Kirk was assassinated, I was working at this man's house. I was doing a job where a lot of my work is doing solar removals and reinstalls for roofing companies. And so I'm at this man's house and we're doing the reinstall. And I just happened to look at my phone. And it must have been just minutes after Charlie Kirk was killed. And I saw the most graphic video, and then I saw another one that was even closer, and I was a wreck. I was a mess. Um, just thinking about it sent shivers down my spines. Well, I only have one spine, but down that one, it sends shivers down it. And so I kept trying to work. I couldn't work. I had to give up for that day. I had to just call it quits. Had my helper pack up, clean up, and we left. And at this point, I still hadn't met this particular homeowner. So the next day, we come back out, and the gentleman named Anthony, really way different than I expected. You know, this complete stranger. I walked onto his porch and apologized for not finishing his job yesterday, and that I was just distraught and I couldn't focus on work. And he asked why, and he hadn't even heard of Charlie Kirk. Didn't know anything about him. And so I explained to him, and at first he was sympathetic. As a matter of fact, the stranger gave me a hug and was way more supportive than most strangers are. Well, at least that's what I thought until I recently posted a video that just took off, and I'm getting so many of the most beautiful comments and love just overflowing in from all around the world. It's amazing. So we finished the job, and me and Anthony have a wonderful conversation. I'm getting ready to leave on a trip to Tennessee for vacation with my wife, and he wanted to know about, he told me, tell me about your trip. So I forgot to tell him about my trip. So that's what this video is for, mainly. So just a couple days ago, day before yesterday, my father calls me and says we need to go back out to Anthony's house. There's something wrong with his system, and we need to go figure it out. All right, so I drive back out there. Nothing wrong with his system. Sorry, Anthony. Call you out like that. But no, nothing was wrong with the system. It was just an error light for a communications failure, for a communications device that was never installed. So gave him the information he needed so that he could get it and we could install it if he wanted, yada, yada, yada. But long story short, when I called him to tell him, what was going on, he mentioned that he was in a meeting and that he would call me back because he wanted to hear about my trip to Tennessee. So he didn't call me back. So here's my trip to Tennessee. As you know, Anthony, I was having a real hard time. It was a Friday, last time we saw each other, prior to the trip, and we flew out on Sunday. And I really was having a hard time with the Charlie Kirk assassination. It was, it's still affecting me to this day, in wonderful ways, though, ways I would not have predicted. Who could? I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we fly out there. We get into Nashville about 7:20, and by the time we get our bags and our rental car, it's almost 9, and we have almost 4 hours to drive from Nashville to Pigeon Forge, where I booked our resort. So we drive out, we check in around 1:30 a.m. And the next morning I get up and I'm excited because the last time I was in Tennessee, I remember there being a Trump Superstore. So I was going to go to this Trump Superstore and see if they had any Charlie Kirk gear. So I go in, and this old man that runs it opened it in 2020, and he didn't have any Charlie. Well, he had a couple of things, but he didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was. And I said, well, how do you? He said, well, my distributors just send me stuff. They say, here, take this and take that. And what I wanted was a shirt that said, "We are Charlie Kirk." So I'm walking out the store, I kind of informed him who Charlie was and what happened, and, thanked him, and, get ready to leave. So me and my wife are walking toward the door, and we pass this table with all the coffee cups, the Trump coffee cups, and I see one. It's a tumbler, and it's all white, and in black lettering, it says, "We are all Charlie Kirk." So, ooh. So I pick up that cup, and I go back up to the man, and I say, yeah, I'm going to buy this $30 cup. And, he's ringing me up, and I mentioned to him in passing, I'd love to have a shirt that said this on it. So the man picks up the phone, calls his screen printing lady, and she answers, and he says, hey, can you make a shirt that says, remember that cup you sent me that says, "We are all Charlie Kirk"? She's like, yeah, she remembers. She knew who Charlie was. And he said, I have a customer here that would like a shirt with that on the front. And he asked, what color shirt? I said, white shirt with black lettering, just like the cup. It would be perfect. And so she said, okay, yeah. He said, what size? I said, extra large. And he said, okay, it won't be a problem. I said, can she do 10 of them? I'll buy 10. Just an impulse. My wife's standing next to me like, kind of impulsive like that. So the next day he calls me and he says, hey, I got your shirts. And so I drop everything. I go straight there. I buy my shirts. I got a screaming deal. He gave me $10 off each shirt. So it would have been $25. He sold them to me for $15. So I got 10 shirts for $150. I immediately put one on, and I was just super stoked. I'm showing it to everybody in the store, And I'm walking toward the door, and this lady, an older lady, kind of smelled like cigarettes. She commented on my shirt. I love your shirt. And I said, here. I handed her one. Really? And she teared up, and I said, yes, please, as long as you wear it, you can have it. She started crying. I started crying. I gave her a huge hug. And the next thing you know, that set the tone for the rest of my day. By the end of the day, I had given out all the shirts, except for the one I was wearing. So I called Joseph again. Thankfully he hadn't left. Sometimes he closes early if it's not busy. But I call him again. I say, hey, I need 10 more shirts. And okay, he said he'll have them to me, if not tomorrow, the next day, which was perfect because we were supposed to leave Pigeon Forge on Thursday and stay a couple nights in Nashville. So I go back the next day. He calls me the next day. I go back, get my shirts. And mind you, I booked this vacation with my wife and it's going to sound funny, but my ex and my daughter and her husband. I got them a stay at our hotel because they live in Tennessee, and it's an opportunity to see my daughter and an opportunity to reward Shayna and RJ for taking such wonderful care of my daughter. I mean, I could not have been the father that this man has been to my daughter. Maybe Maybe in the future I could have, but not when she needed me. And that's rough. So I have nothing but the utmost respect and love for RJ. Matter of fact, he sent me a Bible and a daily devotional. I got it yesterday or the day before. I think it was the day before. But he's a wonderful man. And so I proceed to give the rest of these shirts. I gave them to RJ and my daughter and handed them out to the hotel concierge or some kids I met on the top of a mountain in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. 4 of them, they all got a shirt. I came home with 3. I bought 20, gave out 17, managed to come home with 3. And I tell you, I spent more time in random conversations with people on the street than anything else I did in Tennessee. I didn't get to do as much sightseeing. No, and this isn't a complaint. This could not have gone better for me in my mind. It was the best trip. Well, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience taking vacations or trips, but it would be hard to beat. You know, standing on the street, talking with strangers about Charlie and about the state of America and politics and all these topics. I must have spent at least 12 to 20 hours talking with random people at a restaurant, on the side of the road, the ladies at the hotel, and it's amazing. You can see who's with you and who isn't. For the most part, it's like obvious. They either make eye contact with you or they don't make eye contact with you. They avert their eyes from being offended or assaulted by your shirt or your hat. It's sad. But anyways, this is not about that, Anthony. This is about my trip. So I spent the entire week evangelizing, for a lack of a better word, just making relationships with strangers. I got so many phone numbers, and now I'm keeping in contact with these people. Like the manager of the Shoney's came and sat at our table and talked with us for an hour. Just fascinated of a Californian wearing a Trump hat. Couldn't believe it. He said, he called me a unicorn. And they're all inviting us to move out there. I mean, we got job offers while we were, sitting there talking to people. It was amazing. And we barely did any sightseeing because we spent all our time in conversation with random people. And it set me on a path that I didn't expect. And it's all because of Charlie Kirk. All of it. If this didn't happen to him, then this wouldn't have happened to me. At least not in the time frame. I'm 46. I've wasted so much of my life. I've probably spent, and I told my wife the other day, I said, with the amount of time I've spent playing video games over my life, all the hours, days, and years, if you combined it, I have one game where I spent over 3,000 hours playing. It says so right there. Maybe even 4,000. How many hours, how many days is 4,000 hours? It's months. Just one game. I said, if the amount of time I've spent playing video games, I could have used to build what Charlie Kirk built. From age 18 to 31, 13 years, I probably played that much time in video games over my 46 years. Probably a third, if not a quarter of my life. What a waste. Well, I'm not doing that anymore. Still haven't plugged it in. Not interested. I'm on fire for Jesus now. I've been reading my Bible. I've started doing a kind of a Bible study and posting it here on YouTube. I asked my daughter to help me come up with a better title, but although so far I think it's pretty good. A New Christian's Walk with the Word is the title of my series, and it's going to be 15 minutes a day until I completely read the Bible for the first time. And I follow that up with a daily devotional. Last night was the first one. Took about 5 minutes, so I would imagine it'll take about 5 minutes or less. That should be not too terrible. So, Anthony in Oakland, I love you. God bless you. I hope you watch this. And if you have any other questions about my trip to Tennessee, you got my number. Call me. All right, brother. God bless.